Wednesday. Good to see your faces, even though I see none of your faces. I just see some of your names. Some of you guys that are always here, the early nerds, showed up, and I'm even like a minute and a half late. And oh, well, there you are. I was just about to give you guys some credit for not saying, "What's going on? Where you at, bro?" But I see that's already happened. My bad. Slightly late. A couple few more seconds of me setting up here was just all that was going down. Lots happening, lots brewing, lots of emotions surrounding the vote that happened yesterday on the Epstein files. Lots of folks that are disappointed. Some folks that are still trying to hold on to the one principle that they've got left. The problem with that principle that they've got left is that it's protecting pedophiles. I guess you can call that a principle in the circles of MAGA. Uh, because that's where they've gone now. But happy hump day, you guys. It's the middle of the week. We're moving on down the road. We've got the stuff on the Epstein things. We've got some more of that the press conference where Marjorie Taylor Greene continues her fight with Donald Trump, a sharp fight with Donald Trump in response to that. But also, there was something I talked about either earlier this week, late last week. I reported that Donald Trump berated on Air Force One. It has blown up a bit. And I just want to point out it's not brand new. It's really going to be my main thought on that. So we can go ahead and get started with this as you guys are now filing in. It's top of the hour. Get things moving a little bit on a Wednesday. Let's start with what it is that happened yesterday that we were sure was going to happen yesterday. It was, it was directed by Donald Trump for it to happen after for months he directed it to not happen. But since it happened, I'm not sure if more shit is hitting the fan or if it's the same similar amount of shit.
The yeas are 427. The nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
To the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand that your position has changed on the Epstein files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help to be skeptical of what the agenda is.
This was a fight that we should have never had to wage. It should have been the easiest thing for every single member of Congress. It should have been the easiest thing for the Speaker of the House. It should have been the easiest thing for the President of the United States to release all the information, every single file, on behalf of these American women.
It's the thing that's fracturing the MAGA Republican Party. It's odd that it took this, but this is the thing that's not fracturing the MAGA Republican Party. As you saw, there was other Epstein survivors. Not the first time from back, I believe it was in June or July when they came forward and were talking about, but just yesterday as the discharge petition vote happened in the House and then moved on to the Senate. And as I think you also saw in that New York Times little opening there, it did pass quickly through the Senate, which is something I'm not sure if Mike Johnson was really expecting all that much, but it was something that Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the two biggest now pariahs formerly of the MAGA Republican wing, were celebrating.
We fought the president, the attorney general, the FBI director, the Speaker of the House, and the vice president to get this win.
He put it in a way, Thomas Massie there, in a way to talk about who it is they all had to go through. And if people are listening closely, the president, Donald Trump, MAGA Republican, vice president, J.D. Vance, MAGA Republican, of course. Also the AG, the FBI director, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all of them, Speaker of the House, all of these Republicans that these two Republicans had to fight through in order just to get this discharge petition vote out there. And they now have to have a bit of a celebration surrounding that, but I'm not sure how much more talk is surrounding that. This is the fact of what this is, despite the fact that Donald Trump keeps saying this is a Democratic problem. Apparently the cover-up is wholly a MAGA Republican problem that continues to go down. But really quick aside before I get to some of the clashes that are now beginning to happen as a result of this, that I guess they weren't expecting. Clay Higgins was the one sole House vote against this release. And he He posted about the reasons why, and he wants everyone to know he's principled. Here's the post. He says, I've been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. Here's a bold he put in. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. Not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that has already released well over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case. That effort will continue in a manner that provides all due protections for innocent Americans. If the Senate amends the bill to properly address privacy of victims and other Americans who are named but not criminally implicated, then I will vote for that bill when it comes back to the House. The downside of that principled stance that Clay Higgins there was making is that, as you probably saw right underneath that post on X, people added some context, and the context that they added is based in reality. And they said Higgins's claim misrepresents HR 4405, that bill. The bill includes redactions for victims and uninvolved individuals. Massey explained victims can't release names due to lawsuits forcing them into homelessness, and the petition was not yet eligible 3 months ago. So what is Clay Higgins and his principles actually voting on? Is Clay Higgins still that confused on it? Is Clay Higgins only listening to the propaganda and the talking points that Mike Johnson was handed down by this Trump administration White House to then continue to say every time? We've already released 60,000 pages. Everyone already knows that the pages that they've already released are not enough for the actual information about coming to some kind of a conclusion to the perpetrators that were a part of this whole thing that Jeffrey Epstein facilitated and apparently, sold or handed out and gave access of these young trafficked girls to. But Clay Higgins is standing on principle somehow. He somehow thinks that's principle. It's very similar to Mike Johnson's lack of principles when he keeps saying things like that, but also in his mass disappointment in the way that the Senate handled it. Mike Johnson had a bit of a smirk on his face when he thought he was getting by. The smirk is gone when he was asked about how John Thune and the Senate went ahead and passed it without his or Clay Higgins' changes.
Any reaction to Leader Thune seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see. I was standing there with the Crown Prince.
Are you frustrated in the majority leader? Are you upset with the majority leader?
You notice how Chuck Schumer came up in that? Even though John Thune is the leader, the Republican leader in the Senate, because last I checked, is they always keep talking about after this past election, they've got the executive, they got a landslide victory, which it wasn't, but they've got a mandate, which it's not, but they still have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, and apparently the Supreme Court. But now it's somehow Chuck Schumer. I mean, I'm no fan of Chuck Schumer. As a matter of fact, Chuck Schumer was just talking about the release of these files, and he decided to start cussing because he's under the pressure of trying to sound a little bit more like up with this new voting Democratic electorate, and he's fake as hell. But anyways, Chuck Schumer is the name that Mike Johnson wants to bring up, when it was John Thune that he was depending on yesterday, that he was smirking and thinking to himself, they'll never see what we're doing here. When he brought up John Thune and what he hoped John Thune would do for him, as he says, I'm going to vote for this as well.
Like this, I called my counterpart in the Senate, Leader Thune, and I talked him through this with him and shared our deep concerns. And of course, they share those concerns as well. And so I'm very confident that when this moves forward in the process, if and when it is processed in the Senate, which there's no certainty that will be, that they will take the time methodically to do what we have not been allowed to do in the House, to amend this discharge petition and to make sure that these protections are there. The authors of the discharge do not allow us to do that here. That's the rules here. But in the Senate, they can correct it. So under that circumstance, because of that, we know there's serious deficiencies. We know that the work of our colleagues in the Senate can address that and will. They're very conscientious and concerned, as we are, about all this. As we've insisted from the very beginning, Republicans are the only party trying to make a material difference in ensuring maximum transparency. Oh, by the way, I would just tell you.
How happy he sounded underneath that. I mean, again, as Donald Trump flipped on this, said that he's going to now give them permission, members of Congress, Republicans, permission to now vote in favor. In fact, he declares that they should. Mike Johnson made the flip with him because, he's attached to the right side of his ass cheek. So he thought this is going to be great. Now we'll send it to John Thune, who I had a conversation with that promised me, as he said right there, if and when it's processed in the Senate, which there's no guarantee that it will be. They'll never know. And it went through so damn fast. Without these changes that he and Clay Higgins were talking about as necessary, that are based on absolutely nothing except for their talking points that he keeps reading from prepared pieces of paper handed to him by Donald Trump's administration to try and get him to continue to be some kind of a blockade to this. It's getting way too big, bro. It's getting way too big. So now's the opportunity. This is what I was thinking last night. We knew this was going to pass after they said they're going to have to make sure they try not to look as bad as possible. So after it passes, they need to find their next hurdle and their next hurdle to put in front of it, because we already know there's been no explanation from Donald Trump as to reasons why he wants to flip on this outside of what everyone already knows. He needs a lie, and he just hasn't come up with one yet. So the next steps after this are to put people in place to try and add extra things to this as we expect some kind of information to come out. So you know who one of the first faces who puts his dumb face in front of the cameras is James Comer.
If there's no Epstein list, and we want to find out if there were people that were violating the law and who they were, we'll have to construct our own.
Yeah.
If there's not an Epstein list floating around in the Department of Justice, maybe following the money, we can construct.
Well, it's interesting. The mainstream media was going wall to wall with Epstein while you all were reopening government. I was watching, the vote. You're all over there voting to reopen government, and it's wall to wall Epstein on CNN because some files were released. We'll see if they keep that up. Now that it's sort of broadening out into Democrats, but.
I think we should keep track, Maria Bartiromo. Let's see if they keep up talking about the Epstein situation now that Democrats are brought up. Democrats have been brought up like every time Donald Trump tries to deflect from this. We already know that's the game. But really quick, you guys heard James Comer talking about we need to find our own list. We may have to create our own list if there's no actual Epstein list. It's another game of semantics here, because as we've heard, Epstein files, Epstein lists were the terms that were getting used a lot. So once, I think it was the FBI at one point said, there's no official list. There's no name that says, number one, Jim Jones. Number two, Barry, right? There's no list of 1,000, however many clients there are. There's no client list. That's fine, but that's why you sift through investigative files and all kinds of evidence that have been compiled from victims that have talked about it and other things that they've come forward with in order to convict people like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and send them off both to prison. Maybe if we review those things, we'll get the indication of what it is that happened. But James Comer wants to point out, because there's no written list down like that, they're going to have to come up with their own. It wasn't the only time that he said in the same interview he did.
We'll do like we did in the Biden investigation. We'll be able to follow the money. We'll be able to identify different LLCs and different corporations to see where his money was coming from and where it was going.
Are we going to see the client list?
I don't think there's an actual Epstein list, but if we're able to follow the money, maybe we can construct a list.
I see.
Records.
And we all know how horribly bad James Comer is at following the money. I mean, every time he follows money, it's based in some kind of partisan fashion. Has he wrapped up that investigation into Joe Biden yet that he took a year and a half on, that he went on TV and made a bunch of posts about every chance he got about following the money to nail Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and all their nefarious background dealings? Now, I still don't fully know what the background is for any of those international dealings, but I do know that James Comer kept saying things he was going to come up with and never came up with anything. So again, like the theme goes, maybe you guys know where I'm going with this. Since James Comer has proven already for years to be a liar, to manipulate investigations when it comes to partisan political agendas that he's got to protect and save Donald Trump, since that's his background, since that's the clear history we've seen from James Comer, why would anybody trust James Comer to then not go into another investigation about Epstein file list when previous to this, James Comer has been trying to protect Donald Trump from the Epstein list as well too? Every time they've been in any kind of deliberations, anytime a bipartisan group of representatives has gone into rooms to find out more information, you see the Democrats come out talking about, we're going to get to the bottom of this because this is horrific, the things that we've seen and heard. And we see James Comer come out and talk about how all they want to do is come after Donald Trump. As I heard many Republicans always saying, if you have nothing that you've done wrong, you have nothing to hide. Let's go ahead and put it all out there. How can they come for Donald Trump? And by the way, this one particular guy, the main wonk, he posted that months ago, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, maybe James Comer, who has come up with his own list, should start at the very place that Ron Wyden told them they can start at. And that's these bank records.
Last year, the Biden administration allowed our investigators to look at portions of the file. We did that at the Treasury building. Here is what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking.
I feel like there's a few leads they can go with here. They just have to want to. And as we've seen, the way that they've broken down this whole thing by the lead of their president, the idea is to not do any of that. But there's a lead point. That was months ago. Again, that was months ago that Ron Wyden said that. So have at it, James Comer. And you might find out the things that we think, or that I think, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, and all them discovered. Oh, shit. This stuff cannot see the light of day. Because it's more than Trump. And we already know that. And that's definitely who they're trying to protect as well. Here, let's shift to the next version of this. But before I do that, welcome you guys who showed up a little bit late. I know you can be late to a party. It's fashionable, right? You get to be the cool kids. But you did miss a bit of that first story. If you did there, talking about this next fallout that's happening, but the anger and the surroundings behind the folks who were the players in making this happen after months of Donald Trump not wanting this to happen, it's flaring up a little bit. And some of the children that believe in Donald Trump and hope that he saves their lives further. One being Alex Jones, he wants the elderly folks to stop fighting. Here's his plea.
When I criticize Trump, it is from a place of love, and he's our lifeboat here, trying to get him back on track. So in the MAGA Civil War, stop attacking Massey, stop attacking Rand Paul, stop attacking MTG, and because it doesn't help him in the end, and it doesn't help them, and it doesn't help America. So we're here, trying to get Trump to course correct. It looks like he's starting to do it.
But also, I would like to see this list. I don't care what's on it. It doesn't matter as far as Trump is concerned.
And we know it's a bunch of big Democrat donors. It's a bunch of big billionaires.
Right.
We already know from
so
the emails.
Why don't
exactly.
we release it? So why aren't they releasing it? And here's I don't even care. How's this? Doesn't even matter why they're not releasing or will release it. why would Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene take a relationship that was really kind of made in heaven? It's perfect. She's a congresswoman, powerful congresswoman from Georgia, the state you need. You need the support of those folks in the midterms.
Well, that's it. And remember, the main thing was she released text messages was the Epstein thing. So he now agrees with her, but she's a traitor. Well, he just made himself a traitor. And I say that respectfully because I need Trump to succeed. The Democrats get back in. They've been trying to put me in prison, put my co-host in prison. So, I mean, believe me, I'm all in on Trump. That means when I see him making mistakes that I know are wrong, I'm going to do it.
Alex Jones loves him some Donald Trump. I only criticize him because I love him, not because he's doing stupid shit, but because I love him. But what he definitely doesn't want is more of this fighting. This is making us look bad. This isn't working out well for us. I can't keep defending you if you start fighting with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know how to divide my attention between the folks who are supporting her and the folks that are supporting you. You guys were supposed to be doing this much easier. Aren't we all on the same page of covering for pedophiles? Because just as Steve Bannon said, I think the love and the support for Donald Trump is rooted in Alex Jones's idea that he's going to be arrested if Democrats get back in power. Oh, for what? What's Alex Jones done? Why is it related to this that you'd be worried about getting arrested? Why is Steve Bannon concerned about getting arrested? Why are all these people who are following behind a 34-time felon are concerned about getting arrested if they don't have the cover of that 34-time felon who continues to try and manipulate our judicial system to work in his favor, as well as in the favor of the people like these guys, as well as in the favor of these violent people from January 6th? He's in support of criminality, and so you have to support him if you're a criminal, because maybe that guy will help you get off from all that. I brought up Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday, I know. But she was also speaking in front of cameras as well. And she was still saying a lot of the right things. Matter of fact, that whole threat on her, it's really got her pissed off.
And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files. But the real fight will happen after that. While I want to see every single name released so that these women don't have to live in fear and intimidation, which is something I've had a small taste of in just the past few days, just a small taste. They've been living it for years. But the real test will be, will the Department of Justice release the files? Or will it all remain tied up in investigations? Will the CIA release the files? Will a judge in New York release the information? That's information that needs to come out. And today,
this is a problem. She is a huge thorn in the side of this guy. It's why he finally cracked, because he knew it'd be bad if he cracked, but he had to. It's Donald Trump. Alex Jones is dumbass, even though it's bad, that knows that it's bad that he cracked on this. Because now, after Marjorie Taylor Greene, as I've always said, people don't tend to understand the severity of the things they do and say, and how their rhetoric then leads to folks' lives being at risk or their lives being destroyed, or people consistently tossing death threats their way. That is until Marjorie Taylor Greene felt that same death threat, real death threats coming her way because the president of the United States called her a traitor. And she's on a war path now. It's the only way she knows how to be. The whole MAGA Republican Party knew that, and they got to keep listening to her now.
Congresswoman Greene, you raised the question of whether or not the Justice Department will actually release these files. Do you take the president at his word when he says he's going to sign this bill, and do you have confidence that these files will actually be released?
I only take people's actions seriously, no longer words.
And what do you think the president's action?
And I'll tell you, because I wasn't a Johnny come lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015, and there's a big difference in those Americans and those that decided to support President Trump later on. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA, is watching the man that we supported early on, 3 elections, for people that stood hours, slept in their cars to go to rallies, have fought for truth and transparency and to hold what we consider a corrupt government accountable. watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart. And the only thing that will speak to the powerful, courageous women behind me is when action is actually taken to release these files, and the American people won't tolerate any other bullshit. That's where we are today. Thank you.
Oh, damn. That's a lot. She even so now the attacks have gone direct. I mean, the honest reaction to what Donald Trump does with anyone has gone direct. It happens to a lot of Republicans that cross Donald Trump. Suddenly they have this ability to tell the truth. And you wonder, did you always have that truth in the back of your brain? And you figured strategically, I don't need to tell that truth. Just wondering. I'm really trying to stop fully criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene when she says the right things like this. But the first thing she said really struck me. I only take people's actions seriously. Her actions on this are great. Her actions on things like invasions of our cities with Trump's Gestapo officers, no actions on that. Her lack of understanding of how people's lives get destroyed and families get ripped apart from these mass deportation policies. She doesn't care. There's still people who are getting death threats and who are actually getting killed, who are being tortured in these detention centers, these concentration camps, where Marjorie Taylor Greene is still not feeling that, so she's not saying much about it. I'll stop on her now, because in this case, she's all over it. She was day one on MAGA. It's ripping the whole movement apart, and it is. She even mentioned tried to avoid saying his name, and I'm not sure if she fully did, but his actions that have turned on this whole thing are ripping the whole party apart. The only thing you can do is release those files. I hope her actions continue down this same road, because as she said, she's not listening to talk anymore. I stopped listening to talk a long time ago. But I'll listen to her one more time though.
And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
I'm just saying, more truth from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I said I was done criticizing her, because I welcome this information. I welcome the action behind what it is that she's talking about. But it comes because she gave her loyalty to Donald Trump for free for all these years, and he's turned on her. That's why. That she said it. It's okay that's why, whatever it is, because Donald Trump alienates a lot of people and suddenly they do the right thing. So I'll take it. So like I said, I just want to be on record. I just want to see full action from her before I give her too much credit. I will give her 100% credit for the Epstein file stuff, because that's what has got her motivated. So motivate on, because I do think that's one of the biggest things happening. But so I just want to juxtapose that with her now flip and change on this whole thing because she was called a traitor and now is getting death threats. The other guy I was just mentioning, do these folks have the thought process of the truth in the back of their brains when they're still covering for him? A good question could be asked of this guy because he was asked about these death threats towards Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I don't want you to forget all of this talk after Charlie Kirk was killed, all this talk about right-wing versus left-wing political violence and how we have to tone down all of this because people could get hurt and it's only on the left-wing side that they kept saying. Now he's cornered.
Protecting her security and safety. Could you advise the president to stop calling her a traitor?
I don't. Look, it's not surprising that the president was frustrated because of some of the criticisms that Marjorie had been out stating to the media, and of course she criticized me all the time. But I work on unity in the party, and my encouragement of everybody is to get together. We got to do that in order to live for the people.
Mr. Speaker, do you have an update on
Have a good day, guys.
No, the question was, would you advise the president to stop saying that people are traitors because death threats are coming to the way of one of the most well-known Congress people that you guys got in your party? All he's got is that it's not surprising to hear that the president is frustrated. So in other words, no, I wouldn't tell him anything. Matter of fact, I'm afraid of him. If he does something and says things to get more people harmed or killed, I'm okay with that because I'm attached to Donald Trump's ass. That's Mike Johnson's stance on everything. When the baby gets frustrated and starts whining and crying, all you can do is give them everything that they want. After giving them everything they want, you just hope that they don't have another tantrum. Or maybe you're training that baby to learn that if they whine and cry and bitch and complain and always want their way, even though they're always doing the wrong thing, that they're going to keep doing it. They kind of learn that behavior is how they get everything that they want. So Mike Johnson's on board. So lastly, on the Epstein stuff, I always like to wrap up by showing you guys who the people are for real and what is that they've experienced and what is that they hope to get out of this, while all these politicians are fighting with Donald Trump and his entire MAGA White House to release the information that'll give them their justice.
Coming from the dance world, I was recruited in 2004 after a systematic breaking down where Epstein leveraged my mother's brain tumor scans. He threatened me to withhold care for her. He trapped me in a year-long cycle of abuse. The last time I was here in Washington, D.C., I talked about being a part of this beautiful mosaic of women behind me, and they are exactly that. They are a beautiful mosaic of energy and passion and love and life. I am one story of 1,000. You think of that number, 1,000. I spoke of how big our hopes and dreams once were, and I talked about how they were completely shattered at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Now I look at this amazing community behind me. They are survivor sisters. We are together. We stand together in this. And I realize that we are a representation of women across America. We're united in the call for transparency, complete transparency, to find justice. Justice for our younger selves. These pictures that you see, they're real people. I wish I could go back and give my former self a hug and say, this matters and it's going to change, and mean it.
Real life stories from some survivors, and this is like a issue and a scourge in our society that happens to so many young girls and boys in our society that they have to deal with for the rest of their lives and really hope for some kind of an answer to or justice for. And from some of the most powerful people in the world, it's just something that they feel they don't have the opportunity at, because when they've tried, they get silenced, they get threatened. Here's one last one that wants something from this Trump administration that's giving them middle fingers.
In your head, yes, when Congressman Khanna is saying that the president should have you and the other survivors there when he signs this bill.
He owes us that much. He owes us an apology, for sure. And I think that would be one way of showing some remorse for this drawn out process that didn't need to be.
And you don't see this in a political way. I was listening to you this morning. You said you voted for President Trump, actually, but your plea was to stop making this about him and to essentially start making it about y'all.
Yeah, I mean, he really ran his campaign on this. This is why I voted for him. This release of these files has been so important to me for so long that when he ran with that, I really had some hope that someone was going to do something about it, no matter what the motive was, right, behind it, that he was going to release them and so solidarity with us. But then he completely flipped. And I mean, he was even working with our lawyers and stuff. So it was really hard to go from helping us to completely turning on us and then calling it a Democratic hoax when he knew it wasn't. So he thought it was just a political play. And I think that was wrong. And I think that added fuel to the fire against both parties and where it didn't need to be.
And that's the game. Honestly, the folks who, like her, who supported him strictly on one issue, there's plenty of one issue voters. We've heard that term. Her one issue was his promise to do this. She was willing to, I don't know where her mindset was. This is now me in assumption time. I assume all the other stuff that she heard about the horrific, devastating things that he planned on doing that he's now carrying out. She's like, well, maybe it won't go that bad because the number one thing is my life was completely altered by this whole thing. And at least he's going to go after that. She's willing to vote for him strictly based on that. And if that's strictly the reason that she based to vote for him, when he does all this, how angry do you think these types of folks are? Because I'm sure there's plenty others that used that thought or his campaigning on that as their sole reason to vote for him. And they did. And he gave them middle fingers in exchange. So, which again, here's my repeat. Since we've discovered, more folks slowly discovering, Donald Trump reneges on his promises. Donald Trump says anything he needs to get out of the moment at the time and look like a guy who's appealing to others. Now that we know for the 127th time that the guy does this all the time through all walks of life, he screws people over and laughs about it and says, what are you going to do about it? Understand the next time he promises something, the next time he says he's about something, the next time he says he's going to do something positively, he has no intention of doing it unless it benefits him. Just so you know, it's probably a lie. You know? Okay. Epstein. We're done with Epstein. Let's move on to the way this guy treats other folks. But again, before we do that, if you guys are still hanging around early enough to go ahead, like, subscribe, and share this stream. Let folks who know this. We do this every day at noon. We do it every day at noon, bro. And it's coming up on what? We started this at the end of June. By the end of this month, or on the 27th, so I guess around Thanksgiving, it's going to be a solid, 5 was it? June, August, October. I got 6 months almost. We've been doing this, and it's a lot of work. But I enjoy it. I enjoy doing this with you guys. Let's go ahead and jump to this final story back and forth, because there's folks who are defending. They're finally defending some of our reporters that face off with Donald Trump, because we know too many of them are too afraid to, and maybe this is the reason why. I ran over this the other day, but ever since then, it's kind of blown up. And go.
We dictated a couple of memos to him, 70 break. You're going to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan chase. Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead.
Incriminating in the file, Venezuela, sir.
Quiet.
On Venezuela, sir, you've had a lot of meetings on Venezuela.
It was the quiet piggy that was heard around the world, apparently, as he attacked that reporter, Catherine Lucy, for asking a question about the Epstein situation. Again, he's stressed the fuck out. He doesn't know what to do anymore, so he's lashing out. As we always heard that he lashes out. Other day, he said his voice was hoarse from screaming about trade deals, when actually it was screaming about how people haven't protected him from himself all that much. But he decided to call her Piggy. He calls a lot of people names, but it's quiet. Hush, shush, Piggy. And finally, some folks have had enough. So obviously, since folks were getting upset about it, Vaughn Hilliard then quoted, as he said, this White House official told MS Now News, they said, this reporter behaved in an inappropriate and unprofessional way towards her colleagues on the plane. If you're going to give it, you have to be able to take. What's he talking about? Who's the White House official first? They didn't name them there. But apparently the reporter was being unprofessional towards her colleagues when the president of the United States rejected her follow-up question to a question he didn't answer in the first place, and to call her piggy. That's not unprofessional at all. It's not inappropriate and it's not unprofessional. But apparently, a reporter is inappropriate and unprofessional for asking him the questions. You see how upside down world works in fascist regimes? They also need water carriers in their fascist regime. So in comes Representative Salazar here. What's her full name? Let me make sure I get her. I'll get her in a second. I'm not familiar enough with the Representative Salazar, and apparently she isn't either with inappropriateness because she went into defense mode for Donald Trump.
For those people who don't know, you're a former journalist. You have interviewed past presidents. You interviewed Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. I was really curious in your response when I saw this clip of President Trump snapping at a female reporter asking questions about Epstein. This happened a few days ago on Air Force One before President Trump reversed his stance on releasing the Epstein files. Take a look.
Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead. Quiet.
I know it's loud because of Air Force One, but the reporter says if there's nothing incriminating in the file, sir, why not take? And he says, "Quiet, piggy." What was your response to that?
You know, President Trump is a very picturesque and difficult and different type of politician. But I always say that I look at his policies and not at his personality. No one is perfect. Those who are perfect are in heaven. That's why I am saying to him, because you have that personality and you have that fortitude and you dare to do things that other people do not dare to do. You are the guy who needs to fix immigration for this country, for the benefit of the average American worker and for the economy. If immigration is not fixed by him, it will take another 40 years for a Democrat, for a Republican to dare to do it. So that's why it just gave me the perfect platform to say to him, you are the guy. You dare to do things that others don't, dare to fix immigration.
Republican Congresswoman Maria Salazar of Florida, thank you so much.
What? So it's Maria Salazar. Wait, what does that mean? What is she talking about? I mean, all she said was that Donald Trump is a picturesque, difficult, and I guess a brash politician that, sometimes likes to call people names, and nobody's perfect. But I want to use this platform to then talk about him fixing immigration. I thought it was already fixed. I thought this mass deportation policy where they're sweeping people off the street and pointing guns in American citizens' faces and detaining people for unknown amounts of time in places that no one knows where they are. I thought that was fixing the immigration system. But Representative Salazar is okay with him attacking reporters and calling them piggy, among other things. It's not like the only time he's done this, but because he needs him to do something about the immigration situation. It seems like she's just making shit up. But like I said, this isn't the first time, and it definitely isn't going to be the last time that Donald Trump lashes out at reporters, specifically female reporters, that ask him questions, like normal things. Here's several minutes, you guys. Here, a few minutes. Let's cut to that. A few minutes of him being the guy that somehow people are surprised by right now.
Will you let me finish my say? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. Quiet. Fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why leave the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second grade. What he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You're fake news. Let me
do it now.
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you, sir.
You should really say how great Who are you with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
No, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the worst in the business, but I'll answer you.
Official White House account to have it go out on that
Give
particular
me a
channel.
break. It was just, somebody did it in fun. It's fine. Have to have a little fun, don't you? Who are you with?
Politico, Dasha Burns, sir.
Gosh, Politico's gone bad. They've been so wrong about everything. Politico has been so wrong about everything. Let's get somebody else to ask some questions. Do you mind? Is that all right?
As a personal gift to you, why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why not?
Only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that. Well, I haven't heard that. You're telling me. Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with NBC News, sir.
Fake news. NBC. You're fake news. What a NBC's gone down the tubes along with most of the rest. I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and
Medical professionals have warned for decades.
not you. You're CNN. You're fake news. Go ahead. Proud you, especially you, should be proud of those pilots, and you shouldn't be trying to demean them.
No, there's
Those pilots
between
flew
asking
at
about an
great
assessment
risk, a
and
big chance that
scale
they'd
of
never come back home and see their
No one
husbands
is
or their
questioning
wives.
the scale
Let
of
me just tell you, you and NBC fake news, which is one of the worst, and CNN, New York Times are all bad. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. You know what? You should be praising those people instead of who are you with?
CNN. There's a split,
Fake
though.
news. Fortunately, nobody watches.
But my question
Is anybody watching CNN nowadays? I haven't seen it in a long time.
some of your supporters are wary of the U.S. getting involved in another
Oh, I haven't
foreign
seen
wall,
it,
and some believe that we should support.
Do you ever ask a positive question at CNN? No, I didn't know. I mean, I would figure it was ABC fake news that would ask that question. One of the worst.
I'm the travel pool, but I'm with NBC News.
NBC fake news. NBC is one of the worst. What else do you have?
Some more files, is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing.
That was damn near 4 minutes. 4 minutes of this guy berating female reporters that are asking him very basic, very normal questions about everything that's happening right in front of him by his own, from him, that originates from him. Things that he has to answer for that he did. And he's consistently, you heard the same theme. Who you with? Who you with? Who you with? Fake news, fake news, fake news. You're the worst. You're the worst. You're the worst. Your license should be taken away. Your license should be taken away. You guys are really falling off. Nobody watches you. Oh my God, shut the fuck up, bro. What a baby. What a little bitch. What a little nobody. This guy is afraid of talking to people and having to answer for his problems, for the things that he did. Zero lack of accountability or responsibility for anything that he's ever done. Instead, it's everybody's fake news. There's a point, and I feel like we're reaching it finally, because the guy doesn't shut up. He says the same thing over and over and over again and expects people to believe it. And at first they did, because like, oh, look at dumbass Donald Trump. He's so funny. He's a real one. But he says the same thing over and over again. He keeps saying it, and he thinks that it's going to somehow be effective because he keeps insulting people and telling them that they don't deserve to be here because he's not a dictatorial fascist. No, not at all. Not at all. So some folks decide to come out in support of this latest reporter that's got this kind of insults from Donald Trump. Gretchen Carlson went in hardcore, former Fox News anchor. She said, President Trump calling the reporter Miss Piggy is disgusting and degrading. It strikes at the core for me since I faced similar shame. One of my Miss America celeb judges, William Goldman, wrote an entire book calling me, quote, Miss Piggy, saying I had been too fat to win. And she said she was only 105 pounds. Well, as we know, that's how misogynists work, and that's this approach that it always has been. And Gretchen Carlson faced that head on. And I think it was a big part of her break from Fox News. In fact, it was the entire part of her break from Fox News. She wasn't even done. She followed up and said Trump is despicable towards female reporters, just now ridiculing the White House ABC reporter, calling her a terrible reporter, and now saying ABC's license should be taken away because they're fake news. What the fuck country do we live in right now? I'll tell you what country we live in, Gretchen. The country where Donald Trump ran and campaigned on saying the same things. Let's stop acting like he wasn't calling people fake news and degrading people and calling folks nicknames. And we were all saying, oh, it's so funny. Donald Trump is joking all the time. Donald Trump is the biggest troll ever. Isn't he funny as he calls people names and threatens them? Isn't that great? He's not really going to do all that stuff. So the country we live in is the one that he threatened to make it. Last one, because she was also defending Mary Bruce. She said, please know that Mary Kay Bruce is there in an army of women and men supporting you. She said, please know, Mary Kay Bruce, that there is an army of men and women supporting you for asking normal questions of the President of the United States. Epstein file questions, which he had answered yesterday. But today, he's back to being a madman, calling you terrible and ABC fake news. Stand strong. I'm sure Mary Bruce appreciates it. Folks have come out. I don't think this is going to change his behavior at all. Matter of fact, it's going to dig in his heels a little bit more to call more people fake news and I can't believe it and where you from. There's a bunch of folks. Caitlin Collins said, my colleagues at the White House press corps, Mary Bruce and Catherine Lucy, both do a great job. Peter Baker from the New York Times said, it may be repeating the obvious, but Mary Bruce is a first-rate reporter. In the face of a presidential tirade aimed at silencing her, she calmly and professionally showed why a free, independent media remains essential, asking questions that powerful people don't want to answer. Listen, I'm reading from an entire article of about 100 people that are fellow journalists backing up their fellow journalists, Mary Bruce, Catherine Lucy, because the shit has boiled over. Here, Terry Moran said Mary Bruce is the best in response to that, as they showed again. We talked about Gretchen Carlson that had those multiple messages about it. New York Times reporter Ryan Mack mockingly posted on Blue Sky, you don't have to embarrass our guest by asking if he had someone killed and hacked to pieces. That says he was hanging out with Salman from Saudi. Carl Quintanilla, calling the ABC reporter's question insubordinate, explains everything about how Trump sees press freedom. And on and on and on. There was many, many more. So maybe I'm the bad guy. I'm willing to take that. Because I remember, I mentioned this earlier this year, maybe a month or two ago, how Donald Trump likes to target women reporters. In fact, he likes to target Black women reporters. In fact, he likes to target any kind of minority woman that's in any kind of position of professionalism, intelligence, and challenging him. He attacks them to no end. And I just wish there was this huge outpouring of support the same way. So here's a couple of those instances as well that have been happening again for years. And I remember this one just to start us.
Going into New York too.
Mr. President,
And we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your plans for Memphis? Many people want
I'm
to
not going
know
to talk
what
to
the
you
numbers are
until
gonna
I
be like.
call on you.
What are your plans for
So
Memphis?
who
Mr.
else? Yeah, go
President?
ahead.
No, I just want to go.
Yeah, that was from just a couple months ago. This is during the campaign when Donald Trump was trying to appeal to Black folks after being a complete asshole. Rachel Scott of ABC News, Black woman, asked him these questions about his background and his history regarding Black folks.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from.
You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the Black population of this country. I've done so much for the Black population of this country. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
if
ask
you
me
can
a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your
answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
That's how we started that whole event at the National Black Journalists event, where Rachel Scott just had to ask him the simple, normal thing. He's there to campaign. Why should people trust you? But nasty, rude. Can't believe you'd come with this kind of energy at me. He's a baby. He can't take the slightest bit of heat, and he really doesn't like it from people that he sees as way lesser than him. And no one he sees as lesser than him than Black women. That's just how this guy operates. It wasn't the only time he did this at the same event.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define it?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally the
definition
words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black.
See, that's why he doesn't like having to answer questions with people who aren't afraid of him, who are willing to challenge him on the stupid things that he says and to not accept whatever excuse he comes up with. That's why he then has to switch over to lashing out and calling them names and saying the tone of you asking why I said what I said last week is disgusting and it's despicable. It's horrific because I can't take it. Instead, I gotta come with stupid answers like that. That was during the campaign, bro. I think we could have seen it coming. I just wish enough reporters had circled the wagons around ABC's Rachel Scott after she got attacked like this. Instead, other people, I'm not going to call them a journalist, were saying things like this in response to that event.
Just before Donald Trump took the stage, I had a feeling things were going to go south because this person here, Rachel Scott is her name, from ABC News, laid down the ground rules.
NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck.
Oh my gosh. You can't fact check political speech, rhetoric, opinion. You can't fact check it. And as we know, Google and all the search engines have now been rigged against conservatives. It sounds great. You hear the audience going crazy. It's not. Fact checking is fake, and it's actually kind of dangerous.
Fact checking is fake and also kind of dangerous. And apparently it's Rachel Scott's fault that the organization decided to fact check the guy who needs fact checking constantly because all he does is lie. You see how it comes right back to then blaming the person who did a very normal thing? Matter of fact, in response to all that, I just want to really give the full, a different approach to how this happened with people like Rachel Scott. because Eric Deggans at NPR, after that event, said, at a membership meeting today, NABJ's executive director said ABC's Rachel Scott had received death threats following her work asking incisive questions of Donald Trump at the group's national convention on Wednesday at the time. You ask this guy questions, he gets mad and bristly because he's bad at it, and then he insults folks. And after he insults them, they get death threats because who cares, right? Who cares about Black women being reporters and really don't want them there? In fact, this is one of the last. I'm almost done, you guys. Yamiche Alcindor has always been a thorn in this guy's side. Boy, does he hate Yamiche. Matter of fact, in that whole mashup, she's the one that he was telling, you don't know anything, shush. He does that a lot. And I'm surprised she hasn't responded the way that I would by now.
President, why don't you have a plan for systemic racism? Sir, President, why haven't you laid out a plan to address systemic racism?
I'd like to sign this bill. This is a very different thing. And by the way, what's happened to our country and what you now see, it's been happening, is the greatest thing that can happen for race relations, for the African American community, for the Asian American, for the Hispanic American community, for women, for everything.
What's your plan?
Because our country is so strong, and that's what my plan is. We're going to have the strongest economy in the world. We almost are there now.
Black unemployment went up by 0.1%. Asian American unemployment went up by 0.5%. How is that a victory?
You are something.
Facts hit this guy in the face, and he just can't take it anymore. That's the president of the United States. That's his fragility. I just want to have one last request for the rest of the journalistic community, the rest of the media. Start protecting the Black women reporters too. They've been getting it for years. Just want to point that out. He hates them more than anybody else. Okay, cool. It's top of the hour. Glad you guys were here. Good times here on a Wednesday. Tell John over at TDR that I say, hey, but on your way out, don't forget, if you haven't done it yet, like, subscribe, go ahead and share this whole stream. Let folks know what we're doing. And if you got here late, if you didn't get the notifications, I saw someone talking about it. It's every day at noon Eastern, bro. So if you're on the West Coast, it's 9 a.m. If you're somewhere in the middle, it's 11 every day. Give or take a minute or two. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging around. We'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. See you, man.